All right. It is session 2. Why do the MBA? This is probably the question everybody is struggling with. So first off, we have to start off with what is the MBA? A lot of you may know it, but some of you may not actually. It is funny. I think when I was in grad school getting my MBA and a little bit post MBA, I would always talk about, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm getting my MBA or I just got it. And people are like, you're in the MBA? No, it's not the National Basketball Association. It is MBA stands for Master of Business Administration. The MBA is the world's most popular graduate management degree. It was first introduced by Harvard University Graduate School of Administration in 1908, now Harvard Business School. The MBA is the original graduate degree offered by business schools globally. Tens of thousands of ambitious professionals apply to different types of MBA programs each year. The MBA, really, this is why people do it. It gives you the fundamental management knowledge, meaning you'll get a holistic view of business across areas like marketing, finance, accounting, all while developing those soft, vital skills like leadership, working in teams, communication. It's all the soft stuff that is equally as valuable as the knowledge itself. So, any thoughts, Freddie?
Well said. I think we'll dive in deeper on the next couple slides. Excited to.
Yeah, let's do it. There are a lot of famous MBA alumni, which you may not even know they got their MBAs. Yes, these include CEOs of multinational companies, successful entrepreneurs, and yes, former presidents. Some of these distinguished individuals include George W. Bush, Michael Bloomberg, Tim Cook, Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, and Sheryl Sandberg of Facebook, Instagram, Meta fame. Yes, wow, what a list. What a list.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, you're gonna, as an MBA or a candidate in the graduate, you're gonna join this exclusive club, right, of past presidents, CEOs of companies, and it's all around, successful entrepreneurs, everything. So it's a club that, very few people have, joined, and I think everyone that does it really just, stands out from the pack. It's funny, the people that don't have the MBA are the ones with the biggest opinions about it, which I find is very funny. So
Yeah. That is true. That's the funny part. The people that say, MBA is a waste of money, don't have their MBA. We can speak about it intelligently because we've already gone through the process. But yeah, I think people that haven't done it, they should probably just stay quiet.
yeah, one of the biggest pieces of advice we'll have through this whole course and through all of our coaching clients is block out all the noise, right? And just look at facts, right? And if you look at facts, like past presidents have their MBA, right? The biggest company in the world, Apple, these types of companies these guys have their MBAs, right? So
Yeah.
just follow past successes and that'll treat you very well because at the end of the day, this course included, somebody has done what you want to do, and we're just going to help you get on that path and successfully do that so in an efficient and effective manner.
Yeah. I mean, Tim Cook, head of Apple, Satya Nadella, head of Microsoft, Sheryl Sandberg was like number 2 at Meta Facebook. So these are the biggest companies in the world. They value the MBA.
Exactly right.
So yes, the M7, maybe a term not all of you are familiar with, but the M7 stands for Magnificent Seven, referring to the 7 most prestigious, influential, and best business schools in the United States. This list includes Harvard Business School, Stanford Graduate School of Business, MIT Sloan School of Management, the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management, University of Chicago's Booth School of Business, and lastly, Columbia Business School. I mean, this is an amazing list. They are all known for different things that candidates want to specialize in. But yeah, obviously, if you're going to go and go through this whole process, I definitely think you should try and shoot for one of these schools. I think it makes just a lot of sense. You're already, you're kind of in the machine, you're applying. So Freddie, when you were applying, did you apply to any of these schools?
This list, yeah, I did. I got waitlisted at Kellogg, and I think I applied to Chicago. These schools are all great, right? You can't go wrong if you get into any of these schools. They're, like John said, they have different kind of focus areas that they're known for. Kellogg is always has that perception of being a marketing focused school. That being said, I know a lot of guys in finance that went to Kellogg, right?
Yep.
Harvard and Stanford, they seem to be more generalist type schools. That being said, if you want to work on the East Coast, Harvard probably stands out more than a Stanford degree just because there'll be more Harvard alums there. If you want to stay on the West Coast, the Stanford degree is probably sticks out a little bit more. It's just to each his own, right? And then the key to these schools, and you'll come to find out, and we'll talk about in our next couple sessions, is the network, right? And using that network to your advantage. And so it's really just kind of, what culture fits your background and who you are as a person. And knowing that and getting to that answer as you're kind of filling out your applications will really help to make you kind of stand out through the application process as well.
Yeah. And as you had mentioned when we were talking before, Stanford's the only one that's actually on the West Coast. Every other one of these schools is East Coast. So just something to kind of factor in. It's if
Yeah,
you
it's
want to be on
super.
the West Coast, if you want to be on the West Coast, then obviously Stanford's going to be probably the one where you're going to have the biggest alumni network, within your reach.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I totally agree. Like Berkeley and USC aren't on this list, right? But I
Yeah.
met with the CEO on Friday who went to Marshall, right? Went to your alumni,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was like I just brought it up. They said, "Hey, one of my best friends went to Marshall. I love it. I've been to," and it was just like that alumni base is so strong. Same with Berkeley, right? I mean, there's half of my street, they fly flags on football days, right?
Yeah.
I'm in the Bay Area, so that makes sense. But yeah, it really depends on kind of where you want to end up, what are your future goals, and the culture that you bring to these schools as well as that they currently have that'll really make you successful down the road.
100%. So why do the MBA? This is probably the biggest question. This is the question I'm always talking to people about that are considering getting the MBA. So obviously, having the MBA on your resume will help you stand out to employers, but the true meaning of the MBA goes beyond those letters on a sheet. So, yeah, I mean, I totally agree about that. I think though, too, there was somebody I was just recently talking to. They manage actually a bunch of freshly minted MBAs. They don't have their MBA, but then everybody in the executive suite above this individual has their MBAs, and now they're considering getting it because they know they probably will need the MBA to move up within their corporation. So, yeah, super interesting kind of situation that individual is in, but they do see that they probably will need to get the MBA if they want to move up. So, during an MBA, you'll build your business knowledge, grow your professional network, and boost your career and salary prospects. Exactly what this individual is kind of looking to do. And then, like number three, the top career motivations for prospective business school students include the opportunity to enrich their lives, develop their potential, increase their income, gain business knowledge, and enhance their network. And these benefits are just some of the many reasons to get your MBA because, yes, this individual is obviously factoring in just the kind of the financial considerations. But for me, when I was considering my MBA, I was also looking at the whole experience. Me and you, Freddie, went to a very small undergrad school. I don't think we really feel like we had that true kind of like, big college experience. So that was one of the things. I also wanted to just meet new people, elevate the network around me. So there were a lot of other things besides just the kind of the financial and career considerations that I was considering when I was evaluating uh, the investment decision in the MBA. I'd love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the key is if you type in this, why do the MBA into Google, you're going to find all these kind of generic reasons. But at the end of the day, it's all about you, right? I mean, this is kind of a degree, just like an undergrad degree is just enhancing your development, enhancing yourself, enhancing your, and then ultimately to provide you in a path to grow your future. And as you'll see, going through the next couple of slides, we'll dig deeper into some of these considerations and ultimately why you should potentially see this out. But there's not many things you can do as a professional in business that will enhance your ultimately success like an MBA will. So it's just one of those degrees that is very unique. It's not required, right, to work at these large companies or work at these very successful, finance shops or consulting shops. But at the same time, there's a path that it puts you on that's very unique compared to not having your MBA.
100%, 100%. And something we'll talk about later on too is just, I mean, there's a lot of like yeah, crazy stuff that happens in the MBA program with kind of your personal life as well. So we'll get into it, but yeah, there were a lot of people that came into those programs, married or in serious relationships, and then they leave 2 years later and they're completely different personal situations. It's wild, man. There was some wild stuff that happened there. So we're gonna break it down. We're gonna keep things real and just another thing to kind of factor in. So
So this one, this is diving in deeper into the considerations around doing the MBA, right? A lot of it, we'll kind of dive deeper into this, but there's time, there's money, there's your current job, right? The main consider those are they're the kind of the main considerations, but we want to kind of take a step back and look at the bigger picture of your not just career but your overall life, right? And the considerations that I had pre MBA were those three main features, right? But those considerations, now that I think about it, 10 years later, they're kind of just very small, right? Small-minded thinking, where the MBA will put you on a path that will definitely broaden that mindset and put you into a path it's bigger and just overall allows you to think about just life at a bigger scale, bigger city, bigger job, bigger potential, salary, right, is what the return on investment is on the MBA. In terms of your job, this is going to open up, the MBA will open up your eyes to jobs you didn't even know existed, right? And companies and careers that you weren't even on your radar, but now you could potentially pursue those and be successful doing so because you'll have alumni that are potentially in those companies or in those roles. Ultimately, this leads to a bigger and better life, and that's what we're all striving to achieve here. And at the end of the day, you just don't want to go through like the window, and we'll talk about it to get in your MBA is very small, right? It seems like, oh, I can just wait another year. Before you know it, you're 35, you're married, you have a kid, and like there's no opportunity to do this, right? So you just don't want to go down the road have regrets of not pursuing this when really it's just a two year degree that cost a couple $100,000, and in the scheme of things that's chump change. So just want to help you think about the bigger context here is really what we're trying to point out, and we'll kind of dive deeper into these considerations.
yep, perfectly said.
Great. So the considerations, the career cost, time, right? The thing is so let's just say you're 28 or 25 or whatever it is, and you're like, oh, I have a good job making 150K or 180K, whatever. That's great. That's awesome. But what kind of path are you on, right? Are you on a path to just straight middle management, or are you on a path to an executive seat, right? the chances are, and even if you get your MBA, middle management is just like the ultimate corporate killer in terms of just roadblocks in your career. The goal is to break down those roadblocks earlier on and not have that be in your way. So, adding to your resume is the MBA will definitely help you to achieve that, right? You may be in a current situation now where it's like, oh, my current boss doesn't have his MBA, but you want to apply for another job, and those hiring managers have their MBA, right? There's things that you can't like think about now that are bigger than your current situation, and you just need to be mindful of that because your current where you are now is not where you're going to be in 5 years. Let's just put it that way. The cost, really quickly on the cost, like it's 150 grand, 250 grand, whatever it is. You're going to take out, the government gives you loans, that it all works out in terms of, you don't have to have a dime going into MBA to pay for it. There's financial aid out there that will basically help you fund the whole MBA. But the key is like you're spending a small investment in your life, in your career, that will pay off in magnitude. I think the education is the number one investment you can possibly make into yourself. And I just think that the MBA cost is just such a mute point at the end of the day. Like if you want to buy a house in California, average cost is 1.5 million, right? So let's just say you take an MBA loan out for 150, it's 10%, right? So your living costs are going to be $6,000 to $10,000 a month, right? Where your MBA costs may be like $800 a month. So it just like the comparison is may not make sense to you right now, but when you get down the road 10 years, it will make complete sense to you. And then in terms of time, 2 years of your life, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity costs. 100% agree with you on that. But at the end of the day, it's just the order of magnitude of what your potential is just multiplies with the MBA. So I just think that the time element is not really that important, right? Now we're 20 years plus in our careers. 2 years of your career is not that big of a deal, honestly. And especially if the people that you're working with have their MBAs, they're totally going to understand, that 2 year kind of time commitment and just respect it as an individual.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me personally, I think the my total like student loan payments after I got out of school was maybe like in total like $700, which is basically a car payment. So it's not really that it's not that it's not that crazy of a financial commitment. So I think that's just something.
My gym payment's 400. So, guys, like
Yeah,
think about it, right?
exactly. And I will say it was probably two of the best years of my life. And it was such a unique experience that most people will never have. So, I mean, one other thing that, just to kind of throw into the mix too, is there's obviously, I think most of what we're talking about is the full-time MBA program. I think that's sort of the gold standard. I think the part-time is great as well. That may be the only option for a lot of different people based on family considerations, financial considerations as well. But I think if you can do it, you got to go full-time. Don't you agree, Freddie?
Yeah, I think that the part-time makes sense for a lot of folks if you're already kind of in a job or have other situations or commitments going on. That it, like my old boss was a part-timer at from Berkeley, and he's very successful in his career. So that being said, it definitely works out for people. I think that if the time commitment is too much or the cost is, if one of these is weighing you down, the part-time makes complete sense. 100%. Do it. Just do it and don't think about it twice.
100%.
Great. So here's kind of just, I want to just give a quick example. We'll dive deeper into the essay section, but on this one, this is straight from my essays to Haas, right? And the beauty of our kind of program is that we are going to use our examples of how we got into these schools, how we were able to be successful, and ultimately to kind of like guide our students and yourself to following in our path, right? So here's a straight example from one of my essays to Berkeley. This is talking about what I want to do after my MBA, and I said I want to work to build a portfolio of distressed real estate. and turn these investments into successful ventures. I currently do that now, right? So 10 years after the MBA, this is my job. As funny enough as it sounds. But then it says I want to work for, I want to build my own fund, and ultimately the focus is on kind of community revitalization. I don't do that. So even though like I, had that goal of, working in building a stronger community, who knows, down the road I could potentially do that, but you don't have to do what you're talking about in your essays. It's just a kind of way to help you think about what potentially, how you're going to use the 2 years of your MBA to kind of achieve your career goals. So ultimately, this is just an example of not knowing kind of what my dream job could potentially be and how, it all kind of played out in the long term.
Well said. Well said. Great essay. Great essay, by the way. I would have admitted you too, Freddie. That was a great essay. Powerful stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll dive in deeper into the essay sections. Super excited about that. It's really fun to see people's stories come out that they didn't even
Yeah.
know they had, right? Like that's the funny thing. It's you got to dive deep into your background to really show your true self and have that come through on paper, because these admissions teams and ultimately at these schools, they read millions of essays a year, and it's you got to stand out. So but
Yeah.
ultimately, bigger and better life. What does this mean, right? Bigger career, bigger company, bigger job, and surround yourself with opportunities, right? So, I mean, before MBA, I was working on a company that had about $3 billion in real estate portfolio. Now, the company I work for has a $90 billion market cap, right? So, that shop was 100 people. This company has 16,000 people, right? So, bigger and better company. I was in Seattle. Now I'm in San Francisco, right? And then surround yourself with opportunities, right? So I'm around people all day long that are talking about interesting types of businesses and startups, as well as tech companies, AI, right? I'm all around that. We're in Seattle. I didn't have those connections. I didn't have those opportunities. I didn't have that network before. So this is just showing that you that like that, and the MBA got me to where I am today 100%. I got my job through a Haas alumni network over LinkedIn, right? So it truly plays out if you wanted to, and you put the work and time into the MBA and treat it like an investment. Anything to add, John?
No, no. I think these are all the considerations that I factored in. So yeah, it just creates a lot of opportunities. I mean, it's the reality is that, like, again, like example I had of that executive I know that works for a big tech company. I mean, they're not going to be able to move up in their company because they don't have an MBA and everybody above them does. And the reality is that a lot of the gatekeepers there in the corporate world more than likely have an MBA, and they want somebody that's gone through the same process. I mean, it's hard, and they want those people that are battle tested. I mean, it's like going to war. I mean, it really is. It's insane. It's a lot of hard work. It's from start to finish. The day you decide, hey, I'm going to pursue the MBA, to taking the GMAT, doing the essays, to getting in and finishing. It's a 5 year process. It's no joke. It's no joke. And I think those people that are in those positions of power that have the MBA, they want the people underneath them to have it too. It's like fair is fair. It's like that's what they want. They don't want to just let somebody who just kind of, occasionally that it just depends, but there could be just somebody so outstanding that they're going to be able to kind of dismiss them not having their MBA. But the reality is there's so many great candidates out there, and the MBA kind of gives you that kind of just kind of a notch on your belt to say, hey, we've been through a similar experience, and a lot of it's about hard work and resiliency. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think what it does, and to sum it up, is it gives you a brand, right? As a person, as a business person going through it, it gives you, like, people love short stories, right? People are just very, give me the bullets. Too long, didn't read. I mean, but it gives you a brand. So John's a USC grad, I'm a Berkeley grad. It's just like it gives you that brand that I think helps to get you kind of through the door and ultimately succeed at some of these larger companies. So no regrets. I mean, honestly, guys and girls, this goes like life goes by very quick. It really does. It's kind of crazy. Your 20s, you feel like, oh, you got your full life ahead of you. 30s, not too much changes. You may make a little more money. I'm sorry to say it. But this will give you kind of a path that will kind of allow you to um, kind of open your doors to other opportunities, right? And the window for your MBA is like now. If you're thinking about it, it's like you should have been, it's almost like it should have been you should be applying now, right? Like it don't think too long and hard about this. It just start the process, get it going. We're going to help you. We got a full kind of approach to it that makes it fun and exciting and very efficient and effective as we talk about. But before you know it, like life is going to pass you and you're going to be like, oh, it's too late. It's just that it's that quick. Like life goes quick.
Yeah, yeah. I just saw a post on LinkedIn today. Average person lives 75 years, so we all have about 650,000 hours in an entire lifetime. That's how many hours. So, you know, time is flying by. If you really think about it, 650,000 hours, it's not that much. So, um, yeah, you never want to have regrets. You never want to have regrets. Life is short. It goes by just like that. In the history of the universe, our lifetime is literally just a snap of the fingers. So don't if you're really interested in this pursuit of getting your MBA, obviously spend some time really thinking, making sure it's the right fit for you, but then also identifying which schools are going to be the best fit for you to maximize your return on investment. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people that I speak to that have thought about it, decided not to. Some people thought about it and then now regret it. There's other people that are just like really kind of like really thinking deeply about it. And if you're kind of in that point, then you definitely, this is the course for you because I think we're going to help you figure it out and really kind of push you forward to getting you to where you need to be with this investment decision.
If you don't choose to do your MBA, the question I have is, what are you going to do to make yourself, compete against a potential MBA, right? How are
Yeah,
you going to like what's the substitute that you're going to do that's going to make you compete? Are you going to get like a master's in computer science, or are you going to like what are you going to do, right? Start a new business? Could be anything, but think like that, right? If you're going to have to compete 10 years from now for an executive role, how are you going to compete?
100%. And I honestly think with the way AI is kind of changing everything in the world right now, especially in the business world, that the MBA is actually more important than ever. I think it's actually one of those things that companies are going to lean more into. I think a lot of those mid-level positions are going to go away, and they're going to want somebody with an MBA that kind of come right in. I mean, and really start being strategic and really assuming big leadership roles. I think things are changing quickly, and the MBA is actually the value of this is probably going to be even more valuable than when we did it.
Yeah, we'll dive in deeper into the section on maximizing your MBA while you're at the school and talk about like where you are today versus where you want to be in the future. One thing that I can tell you right away is that most people aren't good people managers. Like they just aren't, right? Like they just suck at developing people, hiring people, developing people, retention, keeping people happy, right? And the MBA, I think, is one area where you can help refine some of your social skills, not just social skills in terms of like networking, but I'm talking about like having people work for you and like working for you, right? I think that it's like sounds so stupid, but 99% of people don't think like that. And like that's ultimately what business is, right? It's a people job, right? And so learning how to use your personal skills to lead people is ultimately what good leadership is all about.
100%.
So full-time versus part-time, a lot of considerations here. income being one, financing considerations, personal
Yeah, like I said
reasons.
though, financing. But I said for me and you, it was like literally, it was basically it's a car payment, so it's a monthly car payment.
Yeah, the costing is just so ridiculous in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean they're super low interest loans. They make it super affordable for you. So, and yeah, there's the loss in income over those 2 years, but now more than everything with the gig economy, and I think it didn't exist as much when we got it, but I think there's a lot of opportunities there for like side hustles and things like that to actually supplement that income. So, um,
Oh,
definitely
I
something.
100% agree with that. I think that you could, I mean, I did had an internship at a investment fund my second year, right? And paid for a lot of it. So, I mean, you can, the first
So
year
did
is
I.
very,
I worked at Disney. I was working at Disney basically full time that first semester, second year. So yeah, I mean, yeah. To be honest with you, this loss of income thing is not like, it's not like, oh, you just have to stop earning money. There's definitely plenty of opportunities, and there's hours in a day to do that work. So yeah, that's I think if you're really focused and determined to do it, you can make it work.
yeah, where the part-time MBA really makes sense is if you're, let's say you're in Seattle or something and you work at Microsoft and you're kind of on a path and the part-time MBA experience and ultimately comes up and you don't want to leave Seattle, right? That's your hometown, that's where you're from. Totally, that's awesome, right? But like that part-time MBA at UW or Seattle U, that could make a lot of sense. And that could be the right play for you, right? You don't need to go to a full-time program. Let's say you're a little bit older in your career, right? Totally fine. Part-time all day, like hands down, just do it. Like get it done. It's gonna suck for 2, 3 years because you'll be working at the same time. So your time is gonna be crunched. But we'll talk about time management skills and ultimately tools to help you kind of maximize that time and opportunity.
Absolutely.
Great. So finding the best school for you, now that you've decided the MBA is right, what school is the best for me? I mean, here are some great considerations: strength of the program, network, cost, placements, placement rate, career center. Ultimately, guys, the most common approach is you apply to, let's just say, 5 schools. You get into you go to the top one you get into, right? For me, it was actually more like I want to be in the Bay Area. So if I can get into Berkeley, I'm going there, right? It's just hands down. So I kind of did more of like a geographical approach where I got into UCLA and I got into Berkeley. I was waitlisted at Kellogg and I think one other school. But it's just kind of like what you're trying to get out of it and where you want to go in the long term, is the right way and right approach to be thinking about the best school for you.
100%. I mean, when I was looking at it, I wanted to do business of entertainment. So it was pretty simple, actually. So there were only really 4 or 5 schools that really excelled in that. USC was one of the best. They had a business of entertainment program because obviously it's in Hollywood. UCLA was kind of there as well. They also have a pretty strong business of entertainment program. And then NYU, Columbia, those were sort of the 4. So that had those. So that it really narrowed my decision down. I was like, I want to do business of entertainment, and these are really just 4 schools. And yeah, it was as simple as that. And none of those are M7s. Shocking. They're all top 20 MBA programs, but they're not M7s. So I believe that, yeah, if you can get into an M7, great. But I think those top 20 are all really amazing. They're going to all kind of serve the same purpose. I think I think they're all kind of regarded kind of, in a similar light. So
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you have to like focus on, Harvard or Stanford, but if you do, that's totally fine, right? Good
oh,
on
I
you.
mean, if you get in there, great. I mean, honestly, that's great. Those are amazing programs. They're definitely not going to hurt you for sure. But sometimes if you're really specific on you want to stay in a certain area, you're a certain, niche, then yeah. I mean, obviously, in the Bay Area, I mean, Berkeley, Stanford, I mean, they're both highly regarded. And I think, you're right there in the tech hub, and obviously there's tons and tons of high level executives in the Bay Area that have their Berkeley, degrees. So
Yeah, that's right. So ultimately, it can't go wrong. I mean, as we said, it's kind of apply to a bunch of schools and see what happens. But you want to have some schools on there that are kind of your fallbacks, but also, kind of your aspirational schools. So um, we can obviously help you think through this. I think going through the essays will also help you think through this. And then we have some tips in the kind of the bonus video that will help you to better understand kind of the success of the students coming out of these programs.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, if you're don't do a spray and pray approach, because then your essays are going to be really difficult. They're going to see through the fakeness. I mean, really apply to those schools that you really truly believe are a perfect fit for what you're trying to do. I mean, really authenticity, being genuine is going to show through, and it's going to make it so much easier, and it'll be fun. So if there's a lot of friction and you're just like, oh my God, it's so hard, and like you're just like, trying to come up with like, the right things to say in the essay, then it may not be the right fit for you. So
I
but we'll
totally
help you.
agree. I totally agree with that. Like I visited a couple of the schools, the M7 schools, and it was like painful for me to even think about applying to them. If it's like that for folks, right? It's not the right school. And there's no point to applying because they're going to see right through it in your essays. Like
100%. 100%. Yeah, exactly. It should be fun. You should be having fun and you should be excited about where you're applying, and it'll organically come through, and they'll be excited to have you as, part of their incoming class. So
couldn't agree with you more. Awesome. Last slide. So we just wanted to kind of hit on some of the personal stories that we had, right? And we'll dive deeper into this obviously throughout the whole sessions. But I was Seattle U undergrad, right? I went to community college for I think 3 years because I did running start. Um, Never took the SATs, never took the ACTs, anything like that. Took the GMAT 4 times, right? I mean, ultimately, I was laid off right before I was applying to business school, right? So my story is very unique, and if I, as John and I talked about, if I could do it, you guys can all do it, and we 100% believe that, and we're excited to kind of help you through this process and make you successful because I think it's just such a unique experience that's changed our lives, and I think it could change yours as well.
absolutely. Like I had mentioned before, USC was the one school I want. It was my number one. So the first time I applied, I had, I think I had a pretty average GMAT score, and I got rejected, and I was like, man, that really hurt. So I went back to the drawing board. I basically spent the next 2 years studying for the GMAT again because I'm terrible at standardized tests. Got my score up almost 100 points, and then really worked do some additional things to really kind of uh, kind of improve my story. And then I applied again, and I was the first person in that class admitted. So how crazy is that? So I went from being rejected to being the first person accepted into the class of, I guess it was 26. 2006 was my class, but I started the program in 2004. Is that the way it works? Is it the year? It's the class of 2006. So yeah. So, but I was the first person accepted. So uh, everybody loves a comeback story. That was mine. Definitely rejected, and so it definitely hurt my ego. But I was determined as hell to get into USC. It had the exact program I wanted. That was where I wanted to be, and I got in. So if you can take anything from my story, is like, don't, if you get somehow you get rejected from your dream school. I mean, you have a couple choices. You could go to one of your fallback schools, or you can go back to drawing board and apply again, the following year. So, but never give
Yeah.
up. Never give up.
No, I love that story. And mine was funny too, because when I graduated undergrad from Seattle U, my mom and I went and toured Stanford and Berkeley, and she had applied to Berkeley in the past and didn't get in, and she was like, "You're never getting into this school." And then from that day, I was determined to get into Berkeley, and it ultimately happened. So like John said, don't give up. We got your back. We're here to support you. Like that's the whole goal of this program is like this is all from our past experience, from our heart, right? We're passionate about this and excited to kind of use the tools and skills that we learned, as painful as it was, to help you guys succeed through this program and help you get into the best MBA program possible.
100%. We got you. We got you. We're small school guys that you
Made it
know.
happen.
Definitely, we didn't have like amazing stories initially, but then once we kind of like really dug deep, you realize everybody has amazing stories, and we can make anybody super super attracted to these programs. You just have to come in with the right mindset and right attitude and be ready to work hard, and you will get into your dream school.
Well said. See you guys in the next video.
See you next.